Booyah! We are live. And looks like we got no one with us, so we can be as stupid as we want to.
Yeah, exactly. We hate the viewers, man.
Yeah, fuck those guys, man.
Yeah. I'm glad there's nobody here.
Oh, wait, there's one.
Oh, okay.
Stop talking about them.
For joining us. Yeah. Oh, we really love the viewers. Yeah.
Yeah. We were just saying what we were going to talk about.
Yeah, you guys, everybody's.
Two-factor authentication. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much bullshit that is.
Well, yeah, I think we could probably. What the hell was that? Ooh, ooh, ah. um, um, I think we could talk about a lot more than just 2FA. We can like general computer security and a lot of things kind of connected to that.
Just personality verification in general is like, yeah, I don't know. Like there's a place for it, but how far we want to take that is a whole other question. Like, how important is it really? Like for every situation,
Yeah.
Like certain things, yes, okay, but especially like just buying something online, like come on, like let the credit card companies, just like they did for fucking decades, deal with the fraud. That's part of the that's part of the gig.
They have
credit card fraud. It's what they have to figure out.
Yeah.
Stop trying to get in front of it. You're never gonna get in front of it.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. They have whole entire professional teams of like a fraud team. And that's all they do is look for it and deal with it. So yeah, I mean, you just your basic security, like, okay, well, you just have to put all the information on the card and maybe a piece of information that isn't on the card, like your address and stuff or something, or your zip code, right? Of course, now, the stupid thing is online, you go to buy things and they have all this rigmarole, you gotta jump through and stuff. But you can go into a store with a card, you can have a stolen card, and if the transaction is small enough, you can just tap.
Yeah.
You can just have any card. They don't even, nobody asks for your ID. They don't look. You just go, doop, there it is. In fact, people, this is a funny trend, and I love it, where people have these 3D printed magic wands, like little kids' magic wands, and they stick the card in it. So like they go up and like boom with a wand. It's like some glittery purple wand or something. It's awesome. I love that.
Nice. Yeah, like I was trying to buy some concert tickets a week or two ago, and like it was all like, we want you to use our ticket corner website. I've never heard of this before. Like Ticketmaster, yes, but ticket corner, okay, whatever. And of course, like they only allow like PayPal and Google Pay and Samsung Pay and all this stuff. And so I'm trying to use a credit card, and of course, it's all like, I can't use an American credit card, and I'm like, fuck. So go to get my wife's card, and
well, that's
like,
stupid, because what if you were like a visitor from another country and you wanted to get tickets, like you traveled specifically to Germany or whatever, to go to this concert, and now you can't get tickets.
Yeah. Well, what if I was in the US trying to buy tickets to that concert so I could fly there and see the concert?
Exactly.
Like,
what the hell, man? That's so stupid.
Yeah. But then it was like, okay, you've entered all the information, we know who you are. Now you just have to verify through this app. And it's like, what app? Like I know my wife has no clue about that. And so like she was getting ready for work, so like the next day we try it or whatever, and I was like, so she tries it on her phone to see if it's any different. Same thing. And she was like, what app? I don't have an app. Like add this app. So it was just like a freaking nightmare. Like you waste so much of your life trying to figure out who you even are. Like,
I know.
Like
I,
the internet doesn't believe me. I am who I am, but
I know.
how do I
Well,
convince them? It's that's
well, and all this kind of like stems from the lightning strikes twice that um, was my topic, talking about age verification, which is like mandated by law in some countries and states within the US. Um, and initially, it was like, oh yeah, there's a drop down, and you just pick the year and whatever, and that was enough. But of course, people just put in the correct year to be old enough, and
right.
so now they're requiring people to upload your driver's license or something and stuff. And it's like, I don't want all these websites to have a copy of my fucking driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
Like uh, that isn't required for me to buy vape stuff online. I don't have to do that. I put my information in. It says, "Are you over 21?" And I say yes. And then I put in my credit card information. I order stuff, and it comes to the door. Like, of course, in Washington State, I pay exorbitant taxes if I do that. But nevertheless, I don't have to give them a copy of my ID. And in a store, right, if I buy one of these or something, they have to scan my ID or whatever, but they just scan the code and it puts the information in. It's basically they look at it, or some places they just, you show them and they look, oh yeah, okay, you're old enough, and that is your picture. But they don't like photocopy your ID and keep it on file, um, which I would not want to do that, honestly. Like, imagine some random seedy corner store, you're buying a pack of smokes or something, and they like take your ID and make a photocopy of it and stick it in a file folder or something. Like, dude, what? No, you could do a whole lot of damage to me with that. No, you can't keep it.
Yeah. It's a pity there's not like a way to just have an upload self-destruct in 30 seconds or something. Long
Yeah.
enough for them to verify it and then boop, it's gone.
Well, and what I brought up in that video was the idea of a tokenized thing. So, like, the state, and they should do this with Social Security as well, because that number is pretty dangerous in the hands of the wrong, especially combined with a copy of your ID. And what they should do is, like, you never provide the actual number, you never provide the actual ID. What you do is you provide the token that's the product, some computational product of the data that only goes one way. So they can only verify that, yes, indeed, this is you, but they can't actually take that number and use it to do anything, which of course means it would have to be generated per use. But that we have the technology to do that. So why don't we? It'd be really easy, and it would provide a whole hell of a lot more security than any of the security measures that currently exist.
I mean, you and I might think it's easy, but like older generations being forced to do even some of the stuff now, like
Mm-hmm.
with not even that much technology, right? I don't know how they can actually like get by anymore. Um,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think about that. Like I have trouble with some of this stuff. What about a person 70 or
Yeah.
80 years old trying to do some of this shit? Like,
Well, and also I guess my concern for a lot of these things, like you said, trying to buy tickets, it's like you have to have this app to buy tickets. What if you don't have a phone that you can install that in?
mm-hmm.
I got in an accident one time years and years ago. Somebody rear-ended me or something, and like her insurance company wanted me to download this app to take pictures, and I'm like, why can't I just like email you some pictures? And they're like, well, it has to go through this thing. You got to download. I think was it Progressive or Geico or whatever. And I'm like, I have a BlackBerry. I cannot install that unless I do some weird shit like side loading and things. I can't install that. I have a phone that is incapable of installing that. It's the only phone I've got. So what do you want me to do? And they were like, I don't know. There's no protocol for that. I'm like, well, there ought to be, because the thing is, there's now a trend too, because of this saturation of information. A lot of people, even young people, are going to dumb phones.
Hmm.
There's feature phones essentially, where it's like, well, you can text, you can make a phone call, there's a calculator, and maybe you can take a picture or something like that, but that's about it. There's no apps, you can't install shit on it, because people want that. And so what happens when that's your only device? What, you got to buy a special, you got to go to the store and buy like a disposable Android phone just so you can download this app for this one purpose? Like, that's stupid. Like, I don't like that it forces people into this ecosystem that isn't a healthy ecosystem to be a part of.
Yeah.
And like, that's a problem. But I mean, we could talk about 2FA for a minute, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that was also your angle that I know you're not a fan.
Yeah, like 2FA is the biggest pile of bullshit it's ever been. Like it's completely ruining every user experience I'm
Mm,
coming across. Like whether it's personal banking, something like not necessary, like buying tickets or whatever, even as much as like, I mean, logging into like any fucking website,
mm,
like not only do you have to like fucking okay all these cookies and shit, but like now every new tab you open is treated like its own little sandbox,
mm,
to like protect you from viruses and malware and other threats and things like that. So like you open a new tab, even if you're like already logged in on another tab, it's all like, oh, we see you're on a brand new computer. We don't recognize you. You have to go through this 2FA like several times a day. I'm doing
mm.
2FA shit. And you
Oh
know
yeah,
what? Like, if somebody just had my cell phone, they could do all the 2FA shit and not be me.
yeah,
So
exactly. I
it,
know. Well,
it's
and
completely useless. It's the dumbest fucking security measure I've ever come across. Like,
any bad guy, who somebody with ill intent, could easily, there are means to circumvent all that stuff.
yeah,
And like, your information, it could also be insecure regardless of the 2FA, because of all the data leaks that have been occurring left and right. um,
yeah.
and some of those
I
things
mean,
might be.
back in the day, you could get around identity verification by like digging into somebody's past, finding their mother's maiden name, blah, 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 stuff like that.
Mhm,
Of course, there's never a perfect situation, but it's so much easier to do that now. Like, it's actually still harder to get that information than it is to just get somebody's cell phone and then boom, you've got a fucking open door to everything,
mhm.
you
Yeah,
know?
and well, and I guess I believe 2FA has a place, and it has a place in critical infrastructure. I, information security when it comes to government stuff, military things. Like, yeah, you probably want 2FA on a DoD laptop or something before you can log in, because that's a big deal. Those
Yeah.
are It's kind of important. But
Or
for
the big red button that launches the nukes,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. But you'd want like 10FA at that point. But it like, for day-to-day stuff, there's no need for it. I have to fucking use 2FA to clock into work,
oh my God.
to clock in and out. Yeah, it sends me a text and I have to type in that stupid ass number 2 times a day.
Uh,
Yeah, every time I just roll my eyes. And of course, it used to be like, this is ADP, of course, but it used to be that it would pull focus to the place so you could just type. Well, now you can't just type, you have to click, then type, and click, and then you wait for the text, then you click and then type. Like, it's super annoying. Like, why can't I just have my credentials already, they're already saved on the browser? Why can't I just log in and hit clock in, clock out? Maybe, I guess, if you're going to do something where there's the 2FA would make sense if you're doing stuff that changing your personal information or something like that, where it's like, oh, this could completely alter the way the system functions or how the company, like the company data or something. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you might want a little bit of extra security there, but to clock in, it's stupid. Like you
Just
just need.
just set your phone to automatically like install updates right when you're clocking out. So like every day you'll just be standing there for like 10 minutes and be like, what's going on? Why aren't you clocking out? Oh, I'm waiting for my phone to reboot so I can do the 2FA. Sorry for the extra 15 minutes on the clock here. I know that's really annoying, but
And then they're like, hey, this happens every day. And they're like, well, it's fucking Android, it's always updating. I don't know.
yeah, that's another annoying thing too, is um like all these updates, and you can't even turn them off anymore.
Yeah.
Like with Windows 11 now, it's all like you can pause them for maybe a week, or I forget like the max you can pause it, but there's absolutely no way to just be like, no more updates, please. Like
Mm-hmm.
until whatever time I of my choosing.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll just shut your fucking shit down whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
no warning.
It used to be you could dictate how that process happened. So if you wanted to have it just notify you, that was an option. Actually, I remember way back in the day. I think it was when was it Windows 7 or 8.1 or so, I don't remember. It was a newer version of Windows had just come out, and me and a coworker and her boyfriend were working on this electronics like art project that actually went in the Amazon building in Seattle. It was pretty cool. But so it was like the 11th hour, right? We're putting everything together, and her boyfriend's like, oh, I have an critical update that I need to compile and put on the Raspberry Pi before you guys bring it over there. And he's just about to, like, he's got the Pi connected, and he's just about to install it, and then the screen changes, and it's like, oh, installing updates, and there's like no way to cancel it, and we're like, oh shit, I gotta have this loaded up and be in Seattle. We're in Tacoma. I gotta be in Seattle in like 20 minutes, and it's like, the most frustrating progress bar I've ever seen, and finally installs. We get it in there. We like don't have time to test it. And I'm like, well, let's load it up into the Volvo. And I just haul ass, like flooring it the entire way, and actually managed to get there without getting a ticket or getting in an accident.
Jeez.
But like, that's stupid. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why is there not like a cancel? Like, or how about maybe I don't want this update. Tell me what it is. Let me choose what I want in there, because Android is that way. It's like, oh, there's an update, and every time it becomes stupider. It's like, I'm already frustrated with the interface being completely almost useless, and then they make it even. It's like they have a team of enshittifiers that their whole sole purpose is to be like, hey, people have finally acclimated to this particular interface. Good. Okay. Well, now how can we make it shitty? Let's make it shittier. Let's move things around to places where they're not expecting. Let's take away things that were useful, and we'll add something that isn't useful. Like,
imagine like interviewing for that position. You'd be like, yes, I like to break things that work just fine.
yeah.
Oh, really? Well, can we offer you the job now? Like,
yeah. Well, there's an ad. I think it was the Norwegian government put out an ad. You probably have seen it, right?
I'm like, not in Norway.
Well, it's gone viral. But it's like the Enshittification ad, essentially, if you just look that up. But it's like it's kind of like a day in the life sort of interview type video of an enshittifier, essentially, and going through all the things that he's doing. Like he's doing like all this stuff in real life, like sawing the leg on a table to make it uneven, taking a hair dryer and drying out markers and stuff, just all that kind of stuff. it, it's great, but that is how it is. Like, why can't we just have things that, like, the focus of any developer should be to make things as fast and efficient and functional and productive as possible. But it's like it's going the opposite direction. Every time a change is made, it's making it harder to get something done.
I feel like it's probably rooted in making money somehow.
Well,
Like
because they're
just like
making
everything.
a new version, essentially, I
Mm,
guess. But it's like, well, why not be? It's well, you've heard the term dog fooding, right? Like, basically, as a developer, you have to try your own product before it can be acceptable for release. Because if it
going
works
to
for
eat the
you,
dog food.
yeah. Well, it comes from the concept of, like, if you have a dog as a pet and you get dog food, you should eat some to ensure that it isn't absolute trash. And if it's okay for you, it's okay for the dog, basically. Um,
Hmm.
in
I
a
mean,
nutshell.
maybe the other way around.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
dog
like the
food,
food standards for animals are not up to par with human standards. So,
unless you spend some dough, because then it's
mm,
like, oh yeah, this is like actual real meat in this stuff. That's what I always bought for my cat. Um, but I, man, there's so many. Well, it, it's very frustrating because, you know, I'm old enough to remember a time when tools worked, right? Like, you pick up a hammer and you could hammer nails, and you could flip it around and you could pull nails. Like, that's what it did, and it was like predictable, and every hammer kind of worked like that. Every car, like, all the controls were pretty common between every car, easily identifiable. And now that everything's through glass, um people do whatever the hell they want. And and they don't build tools that are designed to be used as tools. It's almost like it's all fluff. It,
mm,
it's it's just like designers design for the sake of designing, and developers make changes for the sake of making changes. They don't change things to make it better. They change it to just change it. You can see that across the internet and with mobile devices and things like that. Like, every change just makes it shittier, you know?
yeah,
And 2FA is a good example of that. There's no need for 2FA for a time clock. Like, there's no need for 2FA for most things on the internet. I'd say with banking, maybe. However, not just logging in and looking at your transactions. Maybe if you wanted to do something like, say, I guess, how about this? The system should be able to, we have the technology. And earlier I said, I was talking, when I was talking about implementing some of these changes, it's more like we have the technology to be able to tokenize things and be able to make these things operate. And what if you wanted to do something, let's say you transfer $50 from savings to checking. Okay, it doesn't ask you anything else. Like, your credentials for logging in are perfectly fine. But if you're like adding a new bill or something and paying a bill that's like $1,000, then it does 2FA, because it's like, well, wait a minute, this is abnormal. And this is a new thing. We want to make sure, because we want to protect our customer, that it's not somebody else logging in and doing something. But, like, little things,
I
you
mean,
shouldn't
they
have to
already
do
do
that.
that. Like with certain, you can even set it up like custom. Like, hey, any transaction over a certain dollar amount, send me a text message.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
like most banks are doing that already, and that's like a whole separate system from 2FA. 2FA is more like an autonomous sort of. I think I'm just going to ask you to verify your identity now, and like
Yeah.
it's like who, like what's even checking that? Like I
Hmm.
don't know.
Well,
It's
why don't we
ridiculous.
also
Like
let's talk about just the non 2FA side of things, just your credentials for logging into something. Having to change your password
Yep.
constantly. I
Yep.
deal with this at work because well, now we have a system that's more central as far as accounts go for the retail side of things. But before that, every single location that I dealt with, I had a separate user account, and it was always having me change my password, and it was impossible to keep up with it because there were like 36 different places that I had to, passwords I had to remember, and like I didn't always get to all of them. So anytime I would come in there, it's like, oh, you got to change your password. I'm like, oh, shit, which one? Which password did I have here? So this is the thing: the idea of changing your password, like of forcing a password change, essentially, and especially when it comes to like, well, you can't reuse a password, you can't use anything you've used before. You got to have like letters and numbers and symbols and blah blah blah, and it's got to be this long and da da da. It ends up forcing people to write it down, which is like in information security, that is the thing you try to avoid. Like you always go to people's workstations and flip up the keyboard, and inevitably there's a little post-it note in there with the password written down. Like, dude, don't do that. But the problem is it ends up forcing people to do that, because how are you going to remember stuff? Like with things changing, especially when you have a multitude of accounts that you deal with, all of which require you to change your passwords and adhere to some kind of standard. Like, well, now you got to fucking write it down. And I know there's things like LastPass and whatnot where you could do that, but that doesn't always work, because it's like you may not always have access to that, and it's an extra step involved in that too. So like, oh, now you got to click this thing and click that thing, and then you're doing that all day long. I wonder how much time is burned clicking shit and looking at phones and tapping on stuff. Like it the best, most secure passwords are memorable passphrases.
Yep.
Where it's like a whole sentence essentially, where you can remember it, but there's no way anybody else is going to be able to guess that. And that's what they should require, is a super long passphrase. And
Well,
have to
the
change.
best ones are the ones that don't require anything, because if you wanted to go and like crack someone's password, first thing you do is read, okay, what's it definitely have? Oh, it's definitely got a special character. It's definitely got a number. It's definitely got a cap, because
Mm.
they tell you right there. So like you're already like narrowing down the statistical probabilities of
And
what it could be.
And if you know, so this is social engineering, if you know something about the person, you could
Mhm.
guess, like, oh, if they want to remember something that requires these particular symbols, what would they possibly be typing in there?
Yeah.
Like, see me for a lot of my,
Most people use like the exclamation point for an I or a one
Mhm,
or something,
mhm.
like, and
Or
there's like
replacing a one
predictable
for an
things,
I,
a
that kind of
dollar
thing.
sign for an S. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's, they think it's making it more secure, and it's actually doing the opposite.
Well, and anytime it goes away from your mind and comes down to the real world in the form of written notes, that's a problem. I mean, at a lot of the locations I deal with, I go in there, and like the workstation has like a sticky note right there with the password, the username and password written down,
Yeah.
like on the monitor. Like in fact, some places have actually used label printers and
Hmm.
like stuck it to the monitor. Like, dude, stop! Don't do that. I mean, they can't do a lot of damage, but the thing is, what about places where they could?
Yeah.
If people do this here, where like imagine what they would do in, I don't know, the Pentagon or something like that. Like that's bad.
You
See,
know what I did when my work computer had to change every like 3 months or something. And of course you can't repeat one. I was like, fuck, I'm tired of trying to remember all these different things. So I just started doing the exact same password, and then I'd do like the year and which quarter it was or something, like
yeah,
26 Q1 or something.
yeah.
And then the next time I had to change it, 26 Q2, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, which is totally predictable. Somebody could figure that
It's
out.
predictable, but like you'd still have to know my original password too.
That's true.
Like so it's got like a sturdy password and then just something that I just cycle on the end
To change it up.
however
Yeah.
often I need to change it because like fuck, what else?
Well, exactly. And I mean, that's about as good as you can get, I guess, with those systems. But some of them are now analyzing, they're using AI and shit. And like, that is not allowed. It'll look at it and it's like, it's too similar. You know, it's not that you reused it. It's like, oh, yeah, it's way too similar. Um, but it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, and in the end, it makes you not as secure. And it also is frustrating and time consuming. And, you forget things and now you got to have it written down and like, you got a reference like, oh, okay. Cause I have a whole printed sheet of 3 sheets of paper with passwords on them, just in case. Because everything, yeah, it's super frustrating. I mean, the one thing you don't want to do is use the same password in every place, right? Any place it's important. Like if it's some stupid forum that you're a part of, it probably doesn't matter. But your banking, stuff like that, any kind of important accounts,
Yeah.
yeah, I have different passwords, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean these password vaults are kind of handy for all that stuff, especially when they have like these generators and you can tell them like, do you want a special character and
Mm.
caps and numbers and stuff? Like you can actually kind of mix and match and
It,
however many of each one and stuff.
yeah.
But like you're kind of dependent on having your phone handy or installing the app on whatever computer you're on and then logging into it and using your master password on a strange machine and stuff like
Which then well, all of those things could be compromised. And it could also be,
loggers or whatever.
well, imagine something like this. Okay. If you're using something like LastPass, right?
What
That's
is
a
that?
company, huh?
What is it? Is it just like one of these
It's
vaults?
a password manager. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a company that does that. Um, you don't, it's a black box, of course, because you can't see behind, it's not open source, so you don't know what the hell's going on behind the scenes. Are they actually encrypting it? Is there a back door that the feds could just like log into something and, oh, there's all of Eric's passwords right there? And then what happens when the company goes out of business and stuff too, because that can happen. Or they shut down a service or something. Like, okay, well, now, hey, old rat.
Hey.
um like, it could easily be compromised. Like, I'd much rather have a password in my own head, than have somebody else manipulate it. Plus, think about this too. Imagine you're using LastPass or some one of these password managers, and they shut down their service or whatever, and so now you have to take all these generated passwords that are super secure and write them all down, and then hand type them back into something else, like
Yeah.
another one. That's a problem.
Well,
Um,
I started using Bitwarden. A friend of mine recommended it. And then I installed it on my computer, set it up, and then I went to get it on my phone. I get this app, Bitwarden Vault. Well, apparently Bitwarden Vault doesn't talk to Bitwarden, so I had to like
oh Jesus!
port it all over from Bitwarden to Bitwarden Vault. Like
Oh my God!
so now like if I save one in Bitwarden Vault, it's not showing up on my computer on Bitwarden. It's like, what the
Mm-hmm.
fuck?
Well, let's talk about one fatal flaw with 2FA. Okay. Oftentimes, it requires the use of another device, typically a phone. Um,
Mm.
and, sometimes it's like a little fob or something that has a rolling number or something. Those are cool. But let's say, for one reason or another, either your phone is damaged and doesn't function, or stolen or lost. And now you're like trying to log into your bank or something. Let's say somebody robbed you. They took your phone, they took your wallet, all that shit. You're trying to log into the bank and whatnot to cancel stuff and get new cards. And well, it's 2FA. So I don't have my phone.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Oh, I got a new phone number. And of course, the old one, I had it for like 10 plus years or something. So I'm not going to remember everywhere I need to go back and change my phone number.
Oh, I know.
So I do all the important stuff. I spend an entire fucking day doing that.
Yep.
Invariably, I come upon a situation where it's like, oh, we need to log you in with 2FA. We've just sent a text to blah 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 ending in 53 or whatever. And it's like, fuck, that's the wrong number. And it's
Yeah.
like, try another way. Oh, very simple. We can try another way. Just log into your email and then we'll send you a text to blah 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 ending in 53. And it's
Hmm.
fuck you.
Well, and yeah, and if you want to log in and change your phone number, it's going to do the same thing. Like, oh, we need your old
Exactly.
phone number. Uh, in fact, just a good like terrestrial, real world example of something similar to that. The last time I voted, which was quite a while ago, um, I filled out my ballot and you sign it, and I signed it and um, sent it in, and then I get this letter that's like, oh, we can't accept your ballot because your signature doesn't match. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, I don't even remember what I you know, it's like I registered to vote when I was 18, like I don't know what my signature looked like back then. It's totally different now. Um, and as luck would have it, my brother was working for the uh, elections thing, and he was actually doing some of that verification stuff. So he was able to take a picture of my old signature, and it was like, I don't even think I can write like that anymore. It's been 20 years or something like that. Like, I don't know. I'm going to forge my own signature now.
Wow.
Yeah. Hmm.
he he all took a picture of your signature and
Yeah.
like imagine all these 2FA people freaking out like, oh my god, you took a picture of a signature and sent it to somebody. Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty legit because it's my brother, right? And
Right.
I asked him about it. Like, I just asked him to look at it, so he ended up taking a picture, and I was like, okay, well, I can't. I guess that's that's the end of it. Because what? So you can. I looked at into it too, and this is the thing. All right, you you can file like a signature change form, but you have to sign it with your original signature and then the new one. And I'm like, I
Good
can't
luck if
do
you
this.
had a stroke, right?
I know. Exactly. Well, and then there's some other weird complications too. What happens when you change your name, you get married or whatever, and now there's a totally different signature. I guess that's easy enough because then you could file the form because you're accustomed to signing it that way. But
Oh
who knows?
wow.
But
What a
that's kind of a
mess.
similar, very frustrating bullshit kind of thing. Because you
Yeah.
can have a witness and you could just put an X and have the witness sign, and that's good enough. You know?
Well, yeah, just do that in that situation. Like
It's
any
true. Yeah.
anytime you're voting, just like put an X and then just like sign some random name.
Exactly. Or
There you
just
go.
go find somebody that's walking by the house or whatever, and like, hey, can you just witness this signature for me? Thanks. But then that exposes the flaw in that system as well, and then it's like, well, it
Mm,
isn't even secure. If that can happen, well, then what's the point of all this security?
right.
Like, anybody could say they're anybody.
Yeah,
Well,
like
and this all began as well talking about age verification,
mhm.
um, and the idea that you'd have to upload your ID to every single website that requires age verification, which is more and more. A lot of various websites and companies and stuff, they're like, these laws are not necessarily in effect yet, but they're doing it beforehand. Um, and yeah, I don't want to send a picture of my ID to some rando company. I like, even Facebook. I don't fucking trust Facebook. Yeah, you know,
Mhm.
and they're the bigger
Yeah,
company. What about small companies?
there's a lot of websites now that I think about it that are constantly pestering me like finish your age or your identity verification. And it's like, no.
No, exactly.
Fuck off.
Yep. Well, and
I
also
think
some of them.
PayPal is one of those. I have always hated PayPal, but like
Mhm. Yeah, PayPal. I try to log into PayPal every time, and it's always like scan this QR code and download the app. And I'm like, if I wanted to do that, I would not be on a desktop computer, connecting through a browser. Sure, I don't keep nagging me about that.
Right.
Like maybe nag me the one time, and then when I keep canceling it, stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. This is the thing. I don't like waiting. I don't like, especially delay. I don't mind delays that are the product of like rational things, right? Oh, you have to wait. You got to wait for the bus because the bus that was coming got in an accident. Okay, well, that's fair. Like, okay, I get it. But like waiting for things just because somebody designed it to make me wait, that makes me angry. I get it. I just get angry at that. Like, I don't want, like, or taking extra time, extra steps, extra clicks, typing things, you know, pulling out a phone and doing this stuff, you know. It,
Well, like I think I've told you about the time I spent like 8 hours on the phone with the bank.
mhm.
And most of that was me verifying my identity because I would get transferred. And it's like at what point can you just please stay on the line with me and say, yeah, this is indeed the person. I've already vetted them. Just 2 seconds of your time
Mhm.
is all I'm asking to save me the fucking like 3 minutes it takes for them to be like, okay, and blah 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 blah, and what's your mother's maiden name, and blah 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 blah,
Uh-huh.
and they've asked the most pertinent, like detail oriented shit, like how much did you spend at the gas station on August 16th, 1997? It's like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
you know?
How you
Well,
gonna
I need the exact, like down to the penny, and it's like, ah, ah.
I know. Yeah, that's
It's enough to give anybody a fucking stroke. Like it.
yeah. It it's very frustrating. And at the end of the day, it doesn't make things any more secure. And that's what is the most frustrating about it, is all these extra things that you're doing, all these extra steps, all the extra time doesn't make it any more secure.
Mhm.
Like your security is already compromised everywhere. Like it, in fact, the companies that you're dealing with themselves are responsible for a breach in security.
Yeah.
Usually, like, you know, so, oh man, very frustrating. Well, and I don't like the idea, like I said before, of the idea that you have to have a device, a mobile device capable of installing some kind of third party piece of software just to do a thing that ought to be really simple, like just
Mhm.
walk through a door, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, now you have to play by their rules, use their stuff. Like, what if you don't want to? What if I don't even have a phone? There's a lot of people who don't. Like, there are people who don't because they can't afford it. There are a lot of people who don't because they don't want it, right? Or they had
Yeah.
it and now they're getting rid of it. They're like, hey, I like to disconnect. And now you're like, well, you're fucked if you want to conduct any kind of business in the world now. Like, if there ever is something that is almost a parallel image of the mark of the beast, this is it. From Revelations and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
is, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, please get rid of the 2FA if you want to stop crime like fraud and embezzlement and insider trading and stuff. Like, focus on that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like in your own upper ranks, the upper echelons, like all your C-level people. Like, I'm constantly seeing these like stories about how like $500 million of stock was just dumped by all the corporate bigwigs at such and such company, and it's like, there's your big problems.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody lost their debit card and somebody's trying like some kind of idiot to like climb Mount Everest of 2FA to like use it for nefarious purposes, you're spending so much of your resources to squash that little fucking shit
Mm.
while you're letting all this big stuff go right by and like, yeah, you know what? That's the business world.
Well, it's the corporatocracy too. I mean, keep in mind, it's not just people in the corporate world; it's the political world too that are
Mm,
just thieving treasure left and right, and getting away with it. And then and then they have the audacity to turn around and pass legislation that goes after the common person,
Mhm.
like for basically kind of similar things. Like, oh, dude, I it's no wonder people want to get out of that and just disconnect. It's
Yeah.
just it's so frustrating. But again, we've dug ourselves into this hole, this technological hole, and now we're too deep, right? Like we don't have a ladder tall enough to climb out of this. And then meanwhile, you're like seeing this, you're down in this pit, looking up at the light and stuff, and you're like, I'd like to get out and get out to, I don't want to be in this hole anymore. And meanwhile, there's a bunch of assholes around you just digging like moles, making the hole deeper. Like, stop digging, please stop digging. you know, like that's the thing that's most frustrating. It's like it already sucks enough, and then there's people making it suck even more. There's all these enshittifiers down there, just like, oh, how can we make this hole deeper? you know,
Yeah.
oh, there's water. Well, let's keep digging.
I mean, the day-to-day life is busy enough. There's so much hustle and bustle. There's so much distraction and noise. The 2FA is just piling on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And for no good fucking reason 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Like banking, sure, whatever, but like please like dial it back a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like we really got to think hard about how much frustration is it really worth? Like do you need 2FA to just go look at where your favorite band is playing next week? Like all that shit is just
Or
pointless.
order a pizza or something like
Yeah, like
that.
there should be legislation to say like, look, stop it. Just
mm-hmm.
fucking stop it. Like, you know,
I know.
honestly, like it's not like I'm advocating for crime to exist, but like when they're just going to match every effort you make to stop them by becoming that much more cunning and crafty and stuff, like think about what that's doing, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like you're actually making them like become smarter, like pushing them to become smarter and smarter at being bad people.
I
All
will
the
give
while,
you.
you're not that smart yourselves.
Mm.
So you're like weakening the good guy stance against the bad guys by like enforcing their bad behavior more and more and more and getting them to be more and more creative about it, Like
I know yes, that's spot on. I'll give you an I guess an example of something similar. Um, the telephone system back in the 70s, right? 70s to the 80s. There was a there was a guy who went by the name Captain Crunch, who figured out that there was a whistle that came with a box of Captain Crunch. It was like a bosun's pipe kind of thing, but it had this particular frequency. The whistle's tone was 2600 hertz, and you blow it into a phone, and it would allow you to like basically connect and control the trunking side of things. So you could basically take over the phone system by blowing a whistle. And of course, there was like blue boxing and stuff like that that kind of worked within that. But it was very, very rudimentary back in the day. Back then, it was really simple. It was just hardware hackers, kind of, basic bitch kind of people. And of course, the phone system took note of that. It allowed you to make long distance calls and do some other cool shit. But the phone system took note of that, and they started reinforcing their stuff, making it more and more difficult. And of course, these hackers, they were like, okay, well, let's work to circumvent that. And so they got more sophisticated. Like it was a cat and mouse game. And
yeah.
they got more and more and more sophisticated. And now they're still like the bad guys are more sophisticated than the good guys, I guess, so to speak, if you can call them that. And it will always be that way. And at what point do we say, why don't we just accept the fact that bad shit happens? There are people out there who do bad things. We'll just kind of accept that and stop worrying about trying. It's like a game of whack-a-mole, like maybe we should stop. We're just wasting energy on this.
Yeah.
If we just back off a little bit and just put out the fires, the small fires here and there. And we got a small firefighting force. That's good enough. We don't need to like make every house, like mandate that every house be made of asbestos and fucking ceramic to survive a fire. Why don't we just accept the fact that fires happen? And like, like, because it's getting out of hand. I mean, I brought up in the lightning strikes twice that kind of spawned this. That like imagine, let's take the 2FA and the security things and the password changing and all that stuff and translate it to like your house, your home security. Like, so okay, let's say you had 2FA on your front door. So you got your groceries, you went out and got groceries, you're coming back, you got your arms full of groceries, and you're coming up to the door and you put your key in and it doesn't work because your 2FA is like you have to go to your neighbor's house and push a button. And then it allows you to put the key in and open the door. And like, how stupid would that be? It'd be like completely impractical. And then what if your neighbor's not there? It'd be the same thing as like, oh, you're somewhere, you're whatever, logging into your account on a different computer somewhere, and my phone's dead. I guess I can't now. That we wouldn't accept. Who would want to live in a world like that? Like where to get into your house, you had to knock on your neighbor's door and push a button. Like that's fucking stupid. And that's really what 2FA is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just kind of a ploy to keep you tethered to your cell phone.
That and also it's security theater, just like the TSA.
Yeah, yeah.
I was actually pretty stoked with all this government shutdown. Of course, it's not actually the case, but like TSA people not getting their pay, and I'm like, oh God, please, let them not have money, and everybody quits, and they just shut the TSA down for good. But of course, no, we can't have that. We're gonna just bring in like fucking ICE and the National Guard and shit, and we're just gonna hey, we want to diddle your kids and put your hands down people's pants and delay you because of some stupid ass thing that you got in your luggage. Yeah, oh yeah, we love doing that, bullying people. we need more bullies.
Here's how effective they are. Years ago, before my wife and I were together, she and my stepdaughter went to some of the Caribbean islands for a vacation. They brought some like water pistols, like super soakers, like clearly not real guns, right?
Yes, yeah.
So they go through the TSA and they like get all serious and they pull them aside and they're like, "We found a gun in your luggage," and she's like, "It's a super soaker," and they're all like, still stone faced, like totally serious. Like, "You open it," and it's like, oh, you want me to open it so I can pull it out and shoot you? So she opens it, pulls it out, and of course they like,
they're all like,
it's a fucking bomb, and like very carefully like take it.
Okay, be careful. Oh no. Don't reach.
they of course like take it and throw it away and just like zip it up and let them go on their way, completely leaving the other one that was in there. So they at least got one super soaker over to the Caribbean.
So stupid. Well, and there have been tests of the TSA, many tests, and all of them have found the TSA to be lacking. So basically, again, it's the same thing with any kind of security. If somebody wants to get past it, they'll find a way. There's always a way, but it's a trade-off. It's like, okay, the inconvenience of people looking at your shit versus the security. And it's like, well, if they're ineffectual, if they've been proven ineffectual, then why not just get rid of them, right? Go back to the olden days. I remember if you wanted to fly, they had a metal detector and there was a guard, like just a security guy with a sidearm, and they were just standing there. And if it beeped, they'd have you take some stuff off or whatever, and that was good enough. Like, And now it's like, oh, yeah, backscatter X-ray, blah blah blah. They put your bag in there, and they look at it, and they're like AI shit to analyze things, and then they take you aside. Same thing. I had the last time, one of the last times that I flew, I had this keychain that it's basically just an art piece that I had made that so I was all into like making geometrical things that look like alien technology. And I had just had this long aluminum square rod, and I would cut it, and then I'd use files and hacksaws and stuff to kind of form it into something that looked like I don't know, just like a alien
I think I
trinket.
remember that.
Yeah. So but I drilled a hole, and it was my keychain. Just I had it on my key ring, and I didn't think anything of it. Just you know, put all my shit in the bin. Took my fucking shoes off, of course. Walking, probably getting fungus from somebody else who did the same thing for me. I took my belt off and all that whatnot. Walk through the thing, everything's good. I walk over as the thing comes out, and I'm thinking I'm going to grab it, and then all of a sudden there's like a bunch of security guards there. Like more are coming, and someone's on the radio like blah, 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 like speaking in code and stuff. And then pretty soon there's like 8 dudes around me, and they're like, and I'm like, what's going on? And they like the same thing with the super soaker dude. It was like this serious ass thing. Like they were serious, like, oh my god, they were so fucking serious. And I'm like, what did I do? Maybe is there something like in the information I provided, they found something in my background or whatever? No. One guy walks over to the tray with my keys and pocket stuff in a wallet and whatnot, and he reaches down and pulls out the key ring, and he holds it up, and he's like, what's that? And I'm like, it's a keychain. And he's like, what does it do? And I'm like, it sits on my key ring. And he got really pissed off at that point. And he's like, well, how do you open it? And I'm like, open it? And he's like, how do you open it? And I'm like, it doesn't open. It's a solid piece of aluminum that I just carved. Like, it's a decoration, like, but they took it seriously. And I'm like, I wish I had it to show like right here, because it's only obviously not some kind of, I don't know, weapon or whatever, bomb or drug smuggling device or whatever the hell they thought it was. But yeah, they took me aside, and I had to sit there and be interviewed for like half an hour. And fortunately I still made my flight, but like that was the point. Actually, that was the turning point where I was like, you know what? As long as TSA exists, I'm not flying ever. If there's TSA involved, I'm not getting on a plane. I'm gonna be like B.A. Baracus. You won't get me on that plane, sucker.
Back in the 80s, my uncle was flying somewhere, and so we were all gonna like go see him off at the airport, because you could actually like just go into the airport back then. And my grandpa like always had a gun with him, and so he did the right thing. He went to leave the gun in the car, but as being a responsible gun owner, he didn't want to leave it loaded. So he took the bullets out and just put them in his pocket and went into the airport. And the metal detector goes off, and they see these bullets, and they're just like, oh, okay, they're just bullets. Like, there's no gun. Like, there's no big deal.
Yeah.
You do that now, they'd probably fucking shoot you, like,
oh, yeah,
without even questioning you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got one cartridge in your pocket, like a little 22 or something,
Like, what are you gonna do? Like grab a hammer and like hit it really hard and maybe shoot it in someone's general direction? Like,
the thing is probably lighter than the actual bullet, so it would actually fire at you. The shell casing will whack you. It's physics, bitch. Yeah. Well, and for a bullet to really be actually dangerous, or a cartridge to be dangerous, it has to have a barrel, at least a small bit of barrel, so it can get a little bit of velocity and a little bit of spin. Yeah, if you just took a cartridge, put it in a vise, took a nail and a hammer and whacked it, yeah, it would fire, but it probably would just kind of spin and go all over the place and not really be that dangerous.
Hmm.
It might cut you, I guess. I mean, because people used to throw cartridges in fires, like bonfires. You just take a whole bunch of ammo and throw it in there and pop, 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 pop. And it's like, oh yeah, every once in a while you get a little scrape on your head or something, but nobody ever could die from that.
Oh, geez.
it, well, like the 2FA and this changing your password and all the requirements and blah blah blah, all this stuff. It's security theater. Uh,
Hmm.
it doesn't make you any more secure because in the back end, here's the thing: it's like, yeah, okay, when it comes to logging in to your account, sure, any extra step that's required that like, that does make it more secure in that sense. But what about the servers that are storing that information? Does Can somebody hack that, or is there a data leak or something like that, which happens all the time, all the time. Government organizations that like huge massive data leaks, millions and millions of people's personal information,
Yeah.
like, so it isn't secure. So what's the point of any of this?
Yeah. And
Just
a
have
lot
a
of that
username and a
2FA
password.
stuff is stuff you can't really change.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do, like it's not as simple as changing a password is my point. Like
Yeah.
a password is actually quite robust.
Yeah.
Because like if it's compromised, you can change it, make it just as or more difficult for
Mm-hmm.
someone to crack.
Yeah.
But if somebody gets a hold of your phone or knows your mother's maiden name or knows your favorite pet or your favorite band or the name of the school you went to, which could be like all the people you know because they probably went to school with you,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
all these stupid fucking questions they ask you as part of this like added security. Like how is it secure at
Well,
all?
it isn't any more secure. It's just virtually more secure, I guess.
Yeah.
It, yeah, that oh. Well, and also the requirement of having a phone, and having a specific phone, like you're talking about when getting tickets, like you have to download something. What if you have a phone that can't download that? Um, and then, well, speaking of security, how do you trust that that app is secure, right? Like it's some rando company that probably didn't even develop it in house. They, you know, hired some developer in India to make it. So how do you know? You
Yeah.
don't know. That's that's the answer. Like,
Yeah.
so none of that stuff is any more secure.
Well, that was the other thing. The app itself had some stupid name like Easy Bank or something, right?
Mm.
And
Ooh.
and so like finally we did some searching online and found that Barclays changed their name to Easy Bank. And it's like, oh, well, that's great to know, like, but
Mm-hmm.
here it just looks like download the Easy Bank app for your credit card, which says nowhere on it Easy Bank, by the way. Okay, that's not suspicious at all. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
fascinating.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's never ending the amount of frustration. Like I predict there's a 70% chance I'll die from some kind of aneurysm related to 2FA. It's
Brown
very, very
ketchup.
likely. Yeah, brown ketchup. Oh God. Yeah.
Well, and it's very frustrating. And I guess to me, as somebody who is a programmer and has made software and things and has done a lot of UI design, spends a lot of time thinking about UI design, like it makes me mad because I could develop something that's easy to use, that's sleek and very functional and as minimal as necessary. I believe in the concept of minimalism when it comes to an interface. However, there has to be maybe I call it expansive minimalism. So you have the minimal stuff, but there's like an expert mode or something in the back end so you could kind of tweak it. You can manipulate things to your own particular needs and your workflow or whatever. And that's something I don't like about general purpose OSs is that they are designed, or software in general, they're designed to fit every need, as many needs as possible. And in doing so, they barely fit any need. Um,
Yeah.
So I liken it, and this is like a book idea that I'm kind of working on slowly in the background. Um, but I liken a UI to a workshop. Okay, like if you're just passively like watching TikTok videos all day and that's all you do, okay, no big deal. All it has to do is just play the video, and you got to be able to swipe, and you got to, whatever. But if you're actually getting work done, the UI needs to adapt to you. And so I liken it to a workshop where, imagine you have uh, something that you do, be it woodworking, metalworking, some kind of craft or whatever, electronics, whatever you're doing. You have a thing that you do either for work or as a hobby or both. And if you had just a cookie cutter workshop in a box that would get dropped in, well, it's not necessarily going to work for you, because you might be somebody who's like, oh, I'm always on that bandsaw every day. So the bandsaw needs to be out front. It needs to be accessible. And maybe you never use the jigsaw. So the jigsaw could be up on a shelf somewhere or back in a corner. But the workshop in a box design, which is what OSs are, whether it be on phones or on computers or whatever, it just gives you the thing. Like, it's like, nope, this is the workshop. You're going to use this workshop. And it's very frustrating because it's like, I'm constantly using this goddamn bandsaw, but it's all the way behind something. I got to pull something out every single time I got to use it. And every time I go out of the workshop, some mysterious force fucking relocates that bandsaw back behind where it was before. And so every single time I'm like, God damn it, I got to pull this shit out of here, pull the bandsaw out, set it where I want it. And like, that's dumb. Oh, where are the screwdrivers? Oh, the screwdrivers are like up. I got to get a ladder to get to the screwdrivers. Why do I got to do that? I don't know, because some fucking idiot decided that's where they go. And like,
Yeah.
but I use screwdrivers all the time. See, this is the thing. See how frustrating that would be. You're trying to get work done, and the people who are building the workshop that you're working within are actively working against you. They're making things more tedious, more frustrating, sometimes impossible to do. Because, like, oh, you go into your workshop as always, right? And overnight, the fucking workshop gnomes came in and moved things around, and they're like, oh, this is going to be so good. It's an update. And you come into your workshop and you got this thing. You're like, I'm working on this project. I feel it today. I'm going to finish this thing, my woodworking project or whatever. And you go in there and you're like, where the hell are the sanding blocks? Where are they? And you're looking and you're looking and you're looking. And turns out, ultimately, you find out there are no sanding blocks. The workshop gnomes decided for you that the sanding blocks are not necessary anymore. So they got rid of them. In their stead is like, oh, I don't know, just straight pieces of sandpaper or some new fangled thing that they decided is way, way better for sanding. See how
All you need is use sandpaper and zip ties.
use, yeah, and a couple of dirty rollers too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, you could be a little bit more modular with your computer experience and even your cell phone experiences. And, then everything just became like Android and iOS,
Yeah,
and there's not really much contenders, a
no,
little bit in the periphery or whatever. But, if you want to do anything, it's going to have to be one of those two. And
which is bullshit, because
it's just
both of them.
becoming more and more of a mess.
I know. Well, and with the changes to Android, like I saw a video recently where somebody was kind of saying this. They're like, with the changes to Android, like upcoming and current, you might as well just buy an iPhone because it's no different. And the iPhone, at least, like, everything's locked down. Everything is like, it is what it is. This is it, and it sucks. But maybe you can have it suck a little bit less because the ecosystem in Apple is a little bit more functional. At least, I mean, that's the only thing they've got going for them. It's like, okay, well, when you have an iPhone, it, it just works, I guess. Um,
I don't know
so
about that. I briefly had one for work and I could never figure out how to use the damn thing.
well,
Like
it's designed
if
again.
if you're used to Android, it's not at all um intuitive, you know.
Yeah, I know
And
that's true.
their thing, even since the days of Mac, was to just have one button do everything. And it's like,
Yeah.
how the fuck like there is such a thing as too simple, you know? Like
Yes. Well, and that's where I go back to the expansive minimalism. It's fine to have a mouse with one button on it, um, but maybe have, I don't know, where you could like take that button off and there's three buttons underneath. So, like, oh, if you want to be able to do a little bit more, you could do that. And now there's three buttons that you can use or something. Um, See, this is how you should have things. It should be adaptable to customizable, especially, I guess maybe the frustrating thing is is that it is possible to customize stuff on a computer or a phone or whatever. If you build a car, okay, that makes sense. You can't really, I don't know, say move the steering wheel to the passenger seat. That's to expect that is kind of stupid. To even design a car that does that is kind of stupid because who would do that? You build it, and that's thing. It's a piece of hardware. Hopefully, you put things in intuitive places so people don't have to look for like the turn indicator or something or the brake pedal. you know, or maybe the brake pedal is subscription based, that kind of thing. But when it comes to software, you design it from beginning to end. The designer chooses where things are and how things operate. Like, well, okay, so why not make it to where I can change things? Because we have the technology. We've had since the fucking 80s, we've had that technology, within software to move things around and be like, okay, well, I don't want this thing here. I'm going to have that over there, that kind of thing. Why isn't stuff like that? Why is it that we kowtow to these overlords that are a bunch of idiots? Let's be honest here. They're a bunch of idiots and they're telling us how we should live. No, fuck you. that's all I have to say.
along those lines with the car, a while back I had to get a new car and I was trying a few different ones out. Almost everything is a stick shift here.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't even do that in a fucking standardized way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was kind of used to a certain way of shifting,
Mm-hmm.
reverse is, near the lower gears. I try out this car, I like everything about it except reverse is like way over by sixth gear. And it's like, I don't want to be on the freeway and accidentally go into reverse.
That would, yes. Now,
So that's
there's
dumb.
probably, yeah, there's probably a little bit of like some kind of gate or something. So if things are spinning, you literally can't put it in reverse, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of times where I'm like backing out of my own driveway, and I think I'm putting it into first, and I just kind of like muscle memory put it back into reverse again, and it's like I don't want to have a mental fart like that on the freeway, like.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Uh,
speaking of German engineering, I guess, since you're in Germany, my first car that I drove regularly was an old VW 69 Super Beetle. And so I don't know if you know anything about the shifter on that, but reverse. So it was 4-speed. And to get into reverse, you would push down on the shifter and push it into first. That was
oh,
reverse.
geez.
Yeah. So if you didn't push down enough, you would end up being in first. And or you could, or yeah, like it was messy. And of course,
Uh-huh.
this is an old vehicle at that time, so things are pretty sloppy. And I remember, I'd just gotten my license and stuff, and I'm in downtown Tacoma. I'm sitting on that. There's a bunch of hills there, and I'm sitting at a red light on a hill, and I'm I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to put it into first, and because I'm on a hill, I was kind of, and I was kind of green. I ended up pushing down as I
Mm.
put it into first. Light turns green. I step on the gas, ease off the clutch, and I'm hauling ass backwards, and there's a car behind me, and somehow, by some fucking miracle, those four little drum brakes were able to stop me right before I nailed the car that was behind me.
Wow.
Yeah, and I sat there for a second. Of course, the car's fucking honking at me and stuff, and I'm like waving, like sorry, but like, hey, maybe consider that when you design something.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess to me the thing that's frustrating about UI design, modern UI design, is that it's so arbitrary. Things are moved and changed and designed just for the hell of it. Like nobody, you can tell that the people who developed software on modern devices have never used that software. They've never used it, because if they used it, they'd be having aneurysms. Like they'd be like, God damn it. Or they'd be like taking themselves out with a fucking shotgun to the mouth, you know? Like it, I want something where I can tweak it and change it and modify it to my liking, to adapt it to my particular way of doing things and doing what I do. Again, the workshop, like you, the modern developers assume everybody who has a workshop is making things out of wood. That's basically it. They don't even consider, like, oh, maybe this person makes things out of wood, metal, and does electronics all at the same time, and they might want things moved in a certain place, or maybe they don't even know until they've used it, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, this doesn't make sense to have that over there. I want to move it over there. Well, you can't with modern stuff. Your options to modify and change things are limited and getting more and more limited. That's the thing. Like back in the days of Windows 98, you could like change everything. And then,
Mm-hmm.
but now, like Windows, what is it, 11 and 12 or whatever? Yeah, it's like Apple. It's like, oh, no, this is this. We made this for you, and you're going to like it. You're going to use it.
Yeah.
You're going to use it the way we made it. Like, no, I'm done with that stuff.
Well, going back to security, the thing I'm running into now with this Windows 11 is like I I'm an administrator, right? But
Mhm.
I need to give myself administrator permission to save files to a place. Like all the time. And I'm constantly like going in, opening the security settings and allowing everything and applying, closing it, go back, it works once. And then 5 minutes later, you need permission from the administrator. And it's like, what? I just I just updated it. So I go back and whoop, lo and behold, it's undone. Like it's
Oh
just
my
like, no,
fucking
actually you don't
god!
want to change
Oh,
that. Like what? I can't oh uh,
it's
I need to learn how to use Linux. I really do.
yeah. Well, I Linux. I'd recommend. There's two flavors of Linux that are pretty good: Mint and Ubuntu. Um, Both of them are pretty user friendly. You do have to get used to occasionally using the uh, command window. Basically, um, you'll get used to typing su quite a bit, um, but it is much more extensible and way more. It This is the difference between Linux and between Windows and Mac OS or iOS. Um, the former assumes you're not an idiot. The latter assumes you are. Um, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like with Linux too, it's open source usually, so you can just read up a little bit and make changes to the OS, recompile it, and boom, it works the way you want it to, which is a correct way of having a workshop. Like, okay, it does ask you for permission to make certain changes, but once you do it, it's done. There it is. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Linux is awesome. Um, hmm.
Well, and then like I recently I had this kind of like a home cloud sort of thing that I
Mhm.
was a really stupid purchase. Um, but I had some pictures on there and whatever as kind of backup, and I
Mhm.
was trying to like clean it out or whatever and move some things around, and I wanted to delete like an ex-girlfriend's stuff that
Mhm.
she had on there, and I ended up deleting mine instead.
Shit.
And it wasn't even like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" It was just like, whoosh,
No.
"Okay." I was like,
No,
"Oh,
the one time it doesn't like 2FA your ass.
all right." Like, thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
God
fuck.
damn, man. Jesus. Oh, we got a comment from Old Rat. I need to understand Linux. I am that idiot. Yeah, well, actually, so this is if you want to get into Linux, I'd recommend Ubuntu. Um, that one operates very much like Windows. Actually, for a
My
while they
dad
had
was able
one.
to use that.
Yeah, for a while they had one called Lindows. So it was a Linux variant that was designed to look and feel and operate just like Windows. And it might still be available. I don't think it's been maintained, but um, yeah, Ubuntu very user friendly, very easy for if you're just doing day to day stuff like you're editing documents, you're going on the internet, looking things up, you're watching videos on YouTube or something like that, printing the occasional thing. Absolutely easy to use. Um, but it also has it because it's Linux. You can make changes that are unapproved. Um, and mold things to suit your needs. And it's the sky's the limit, basically. Like you can just look things up online. There's for especially with Ubuntu, there are forums all over the place. Like all everybody, any problem you might have, somebody's already had it and they've talked about it and figured it out.
And
When it comes to Ubuntu,
you set up something on my dad's computer years ago where he had both Windows and Linux, like a
yep,
dual boot.
dual boot, yep,
So
yeah. Which
that's a possibility too for
mhm.
like programs that won't work with Linux or
Well,
whatever.
there's Wine, which is a Windows emulator. So you can run Windows stuff within Linux. Um,
Ah,
so and it's pretty extensively capable as far as like being able to run even games, like all kinds of games and stuff like that. Windows games you can run within Linux.
huh.
Um, so you can still have that, but yeah, dual boot. A lot of Linux variants, Ubuntu being one of them, will have the option when you install it to set up a dual boot. So like when you first power up the computer, it goes to like a little screen that's like, which one do you want to start? You want to start
Uh-huh.
Windows or Ubuntu or whatever, go into the console or something. And so you can just do that. Um, and there's also a live drive version where you can like flash it to a thumb drive. Unet Bootin, I think, is the tool you could download, and you don't even have to download the ISO, the image for the operating system. There's just a drop down, and you could pick one and be like, yeah, install that on this flash drive, and then you stick the flash drive in, reboot the computer, and usually there's like F12 or F11 or escape or something you hit, and then it gives you the option, what do you want to boot to, and you just say the USB drive, and it boots, and it sets up like a temporary version of the OS so you can try it out.
I
And
was with you all the way up to Simply.
sorry, I'm kind of on fire today, I guess, but it you can try it before you buy it, so to speak, before you actually install the operating.
Mm,
Mint is one of those too. Um, in fact, you install it using that. Generally, you'll
it's probably a lot less memory intensive than Windows too.
very
Yeah.
very much so. And in fact, you can take an old computer that won't even run modern operating systems and install a modern operating system in the form of like Ubuntu or Mint or something on an old ass computer, and it'll work like it'd be like LS swapping your computer. You're dogging all day long, just puttering and barely able to climb a hill, and all of a sudden you got this fucking like big ass V8 in there. That's what Linux does. Hmm.
We're about an hour 24 in. Old Rat says he wants to watch this later to reference all this. I'll try to make a little short. You can like clip out chunks of your YouTube videos and make a
Mhm.
short. I'll try to do that after.
Okay.
It might be like tomorrow or something because I think it has to process for 24 hours or something after we
Yeah.
go live. But yeah, I'll try
Well,
to make a note to do that.
setting up
That
a
is helpful. I want to do that too. Like that's
Mhm.
I'm sick to death of all this bogged down fluffy bullshit using up all the memory, and then you try to do something memory intensive and it's like
Yeah. Well, and then there's an update, and all of a
and
sudden,
then 2FA.
yeah, yeah. Well, and the updates, all of a sudden there's like an update, and you can't do what you used to do. They change something, they take something away, they add something stupid. Um, yeah, you have full control with Linux. And dual boot is the way to go because, like, okay, well, you don't like the way this is working, or maybe you're familiarizing yourself with the new Linux experience, but you can still reboot and go back and run. Like, I mean, everything you had before will be preserved as it was, just with the option of starting in Linux. And so maybe you can like slowly move your files in and start kind of configuring things. And eventually you won't need that other operating system anymore.
Hmm.
So, or maybe you keep it around because I have a lot of legacy stuff, especially old games that I programmed and old stuff. I like, so having access to an old version of Windows is kind of helpful because it doesn't quite work right in Linux. So there you go, dual boot.
Hmm.
You can actually do more than dual boot. You can install, you want Windows 98, the option of Windows 98, XP, 7, Windows 10, Windows 11. You could have Windows 8, the weird one that didn't work with desktop computers. You could have that in there. Like, you can have all those as an option to boot to. Just, it's a matter of how much drive space you want to take up.
Yeah. Huh.
But I mean, still, when it comes to websites, you're stuck with however they design it. But that's the thing that's frustrating to me, is that we're kind of beholden to these systems where some nebulous group of developers decides for us what to do, and like, well, you kind of, it's my bank, I guess I got to use their thing, their interface, and it
Mhm.
sucks ass, and you're just like, god damn it, this sucks ass.
Yeah.
But you have to, because like, well, that's your bank. And then you're like, well, maybe I'll go to a different bank, right? Okay, well, I got, this company, I'll go to that company, and then theirs is even worse. And now you're like, well, shit, out of the frying pan into the fire.
You know what might make more sense than all this 2FA stuff, like with banking or whatnot, is for these companies to somehow utilize like APIs and stuff. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit of know-how and you can make your own app that you have the code to, you
Yeah.
and you alone, um, and just have an API like, talk to their banking app,
Yep.
that's probably as secure as it gets, right? Like, I mean, I
Sure.
don't know that much about this, but that sounds
No,
like,
no, no. Yeah, no. An API is definitely a good way to go, and that would allow for people to kind of customize their experience,
yeah,
but still interface with the system.
still have the function and the interface, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, like,
Oh, speaking of that, I had a thought that I forgot, and way back, but it just popped back into my head. Um, when it comes to security, is that, of course, a lot of these companies, social media companies in particular, are like, oh, you got to do a face scan, right? So it's like biometric scan of your face, which is like, okay, again, that requires, like, sure, I have a webcam. I don't know if that'll work. If I log into Facebook on a desktop computer, can I use a webcam? I don't know. Or are they going to be like, well, you got to download this fucking app? I don't want Facebook on my phone. Okay. I intentionally deleted everything that has any kind. It's basically like, I've almost turned my smartphone into a feature phone at that point. Other than having a browser as an option, and a fancy calculator, of course. um, but the problem with that, so, or where it's like, oh, you got to do a fingerprint scan or whatever, that kind of thing, or maybe whatever the ID. Um, when it, okay, in understanding the issues with something from an engineering standpoint, just take this thing and transplant it into a different scenario. In with like your debit card or whatever, right? Your debit card's compromised because somebody got the number or whatever, or it was stolen or something like that. You call your bank and you're like, hey, can you get me another debit card? They send you another one, has a different number on it. Okay. And they lock the account down for a while and investigate, do whatever they do. But now this card, the new card, is functional because it's a new number. Well, you can't do that with your face. You can't do that with your fingerprints.
Right.
Like if the data tied to your fingerprint on your phone or whatever, or your biometric data from your face gets compromised, well, you're fucked. Like, what are you gonna do? Get plastic surgery? Like change your goddamn face? No, you can't do that. And that's why I don't like this over reliance on biometric data and physical features that can't be changed.
I want his face off.
That was actually kind of a good movie. That was Nick Cage, right?
Nick Cage, John Travolta.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good. It was fun. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and see, this is the thing. I guess maybe I'm the one who explores the nightmare shadows in the background while other people just go about their daily business as if nothing's ever wrong and nothing could ever happen. But like, I worry about this stuff because I can see kind of the chain of events, like what something could lead to. It's like playing a chess game, the first few moves in a game, exactly how it's going to play out. You're like, oh, okay, I know my opponent now. And I can see this when it comes to things like biometric data, DNA or something, that's coming, by the way, where the literal data is what you use, right? You push your finger onto the phone, it reads your fingerprint. You scan a picture of your face, and that data is what is compared against the database to prove your identity or to unlock something or something. It's so convenient, right? It's like, oh, it takes a picture and there you go. Well, what happens when that gets compromised? There's nothing in between that. And that's what we need the in between, the tokens in between, where it's like the debit card. You have your bank account, okay? And that has an account number. And that's what it is. But tied to that is like your debit card, and that has a different number. But if the debit card's compromised, you can just have them issue you a new debit card tied to that account. You don't have to open a whole new account, which this is where like a lot of the security measures that are kind of coming into play, like are going into that idea of like, no, there's no debit card. It's the whole account. You just, when you go to the store to buy something, you give them your account and routing number for your bank. Like, that's it.
Yeah, that's
like,
how it operates here. These IBAN numbers, and yeah, like you just give everybody your bank account, and like there's no checks or anything. Like everything has to be paid online now using this method. You get a bill in the mail and it just prints their bank account information right at the bottom, and you just send them money.
Well, that's like if anything you do, you just write your social security number down or something, in the States.
But I mean, like it's obviously working. And I remember a time when your debit card had your full, like part of the debit card number was your full bank account number. And if you lost it, you just got one with the same exact number and a new expiration date and a new security code when that eventually became a thing. Like, that was enough for the longest time. Like,
exactly.
What changed?
Well, I guess scammers and stuff. It's gotten, the thing is that element has expanded and gotten a lot more sophisticated over time. But that doesn't mean we need to go. It's the same thing with the TSA, right? Okay. Like back in the day, I remember this. Libyan terrorists would hijack a plane, right, in the 80s and whatnot. And they'd be like, oh, they're sitting there with guns and shit and holding people hostage. They're on the tarmac and they're like, wow, well, we want these people released from prison. We want a bunch of money and we want a helicopter or something. And they'd be like, all right, well, here you go. And they'd be like, all right. And they'd get in the helicopter, take off, and everybody survived. And that's kind of how it went. So security was still pretty lax because it's like, well, whatever. I guess that happens, but nothing too crazy happened. And then came 9/11, where something that was unexpected occurred. Like, oh, by the way, it was an inside job. But anyway, something unexpected happened, and some people hijacked a bunch of planes and crashed them into buildings and stuff, and into three buildings, and apparently 4 fell down. So there you go. But then it was an overcorrection. So rather than just be like, oh, we better be on the lookout for this, maybe some air marshals being kind of mixed in all the flights, just have a few of them. They're just plain clothes, little bit of extra security. They went overboard, and it's like the Patriot Act and all this TSA security just over the top, and it's like, okay, Ashcroft, yeah. when like, okay, nothing like that has ever happened before or since, really, and probably won't happen again, because here's the thing. Now we know about that. We know about that plan, so we're going to be looking for it. So if there are terrorists who are intent on doing harm, they're not going to employ the same tactic again. No, to be unexpected, you're going to do something unexpected. So we can kind of relax about that, I think.
I remember for the longest time, every September 11th that would come around, they'd be on high alert. And it's like, you think they're going to do that on the anniversary of these sentimental terrorists that are like, you know what would be great to do today for our anniversary? Let's do the same shit. They'll never see it coming.
They'll never see it coming. Yep, exactly. Well, God, and that's, damn. But still, and this is the stupid thing, is, again, like with OS design, UI design, things like that, people are just kind of like, well, I guess that's the way it is. Like, well, it doesn't have to be. We don't have to accept this. My dad, after my mom died, got remarried, and he wanted to do an Elvis Vegas wedding. I think I've told the story before on the show, but he's like, oh, hey, he called me and was like, hey, we're gonna get married and have the whole ceremony, do this Elvis wedding thing in Vegas because that's kind of cool. I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And he's like, oh, well, I can get you a plane ticket if you want to come down. Or I think he actually said initially, like, oh, you should, come be a part of this. And I was like, well, it's going to be a long drive. And he's like, well, I can get you a plane ticket. And I'm like, I don't fly. Well, commercially. And he's like, well, why? And I said, well, because the TSA exists. And he said, well, can't you make an exception? And I'm like, well, then that would compromise my principles. And my dad, being a Marine, he is like, okay, I understand. And but it's like, yeah, even to go to that event, I wouldn't do it. And but we need more people to stand up and be like, hey, this isn't right. Why would we want to live like this? Why accept bullshit? Why accept garbage when that's what they're feeding us? No, I want to have a better life. I want things to be better. I want the devices that I use to be functional and adaptable. Like, I'm not going to working on this stupid workshop that some idiot that never worked a day in his life designed.
Your dad should have just done what I did and get pulled on stage with a band, and then you're on YouTube, and you didn't have to fly anywhere. You saw at least kind of part of my wedding.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we need to push back more, and
yep.
Maybe even little things like installing Linux and running Linux, is a step in the right direction. We need, because Linux seems intimidating at first, but it's pretty easy to use. And like I said, every single thing, any problem you run into has already been run into before, and somebody's discussed it in a forum. And the difference with Linux too is the community fixes problems. They're like actively paying attention to, there's these like neurotic, like OCD people that they're like, I've got to, fix this thing. Like any little thing, we'll tweak it, we'll fix it, we'll make it better. And they're constantly working to improve it. And
Well, Microsoft has forums where they'll have their employees kind of, you know, uh, talk down to
gaslight
you a little bit and be like, "Oh, maybe
you.
you did something wrong."
They'll gaslight you. And Apple does the same thing. You remember Holdgate, Bendgate? Like the Holdgate one was like, because the reception was really, really bad. Signal was bad on a particular version of the iPhone. And people were in the forums talking about it. And the Apple tech support people were like, well, you're holding it wrong. They literally said that. You're holding it wrong. Like, what are you talking about? This is an omnidirectional antenna, right? What do you mean I'm holding it wrong? What are the like radio waves like spilling out or something? What the hell? But they did that. And the thing is, the Apple fan people, the fanboys and stuff, they accepted it. They're like, oh, I guess I'll just stand in line for another 8 hours to go buy the next newest, brightest, shiniest iPhone. Like, no, you know what you do in that case? You don't buy another iPhone.
Yeah.
That's what you do. you know?
Fucking iPhones.
Yeah. It's like
my dog has like a food sensitivity diet.
Mm-hmm.
And so we finally found a food that worked fine, dialed in and everything. And then all of a sudden the next shipment we get says like made in Italy. And I grabbed the old can. It was from the US. And I was like, huh. And like it was all bent up. Like every can was dented and everything, and the lids were super hard to open, and then it smelled different. It was like slimy looking and different color and stuff. And I was like, what the hell? So I like, read and like translated all the ingredients and like compared them, and they had like basically the same ingredients but in different quantities and stuff.
Okay.
And so and of course, being a food sensitivity diet, you'd think they would make those kind of like homogenous across the
Consistent.
globe.
Yeah.
But no. And so of course, like she had like bloody diarrhea and stuff.
Oh God.
So I'm like taking pictures of bloody diarrhea and sending it to Hills, and I'm like, hey, is there any way to get it like from the US again? And they're like, oh no, it's impossible. We moved all the production over to Italy, and and I was like, but this is a food sensitivity diet. Why are you changing the recipe? And they're like, we haven't changed the recipe, even though I fucking saw it. Like different amounts of things, like
Mm-hmm.
is technically changing the recipe.
Not only that, but where things come from can
Yeah,
change.
well, that's
Like,
the next thing.
yeah.
Like they said, we didn't change the recipe, but you have to understand when it's made in a new place, sometimes the ingredients are different. It's like,
Well, I mean, that just proves your point.
are they different or are they not different? Like
Yeah.
you just contradicted yourself. Like,
Mhm.
and they were like, there's nothing really we can do. Like, so, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, fuck you then.
Yeah. And honestly, at the end of the day, the only way that you can have something that works right is to do it yourself. Like make it yourself, build it yourself, develop it yourself, whatever it is. And I know that's a lot of work, but it's kind of like building out your workshop, right? Like my garage is set up in a way that is tuned very precisely to the way that I work. Like I know exactly where everything is. And it's like the things that I use often are closer, they're more accessible. The things I barely use are way in the back, like in boxes and stuff like that. It's like, I hardly ever use this particular tool. But the things that I use more often are in the front. And but I had to do the legwork to make that happen.
I suppose I could start feeding my dog like leg meat of people that like develop 2FA stuff, you know, like sick 'em.
Yeah. Maybe the executives of the company that make the food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's where I think we shouldn't be complacent. And this applies across the board to everything, whether it be software or pet food or workshops or politics or whatever. We shouldn't just be like, that's the way it is. No, that isn't just the way it is. Somebody's fucking with you. You know, they're like they're and they're deciding for you what is best for you. And that is one of my pet peeves. You know, obviously you know this very well. I think if there is ever a sin that exists in the world, it's hypocrisy. Like that is the only sin that really exists. But the idea of somebody just telling you the way, just basically putting words in your mouth, like, oh no, you, this is the way you should do things. No, no. I decide how I do things. You, as the person I'm paying, buying your product, is the one who's supposed to make things to my liking. As me being the customer. Like if I'm the customer and you're like, let's say you go into here again, going back to the idea of transplanting a concept into a different bucket. Imagine you go, I love analogies. Imagine you go into a McDonald's, okay, and you have a hankering for a fillet o fish. And you go in there and you're like, yes, I would like a fillet o fish. And they're like, no, you don't. But we have these really cool chicken sandwiches now. And you're like, I want the fillet o fish. And they're like, no.
And a quarter pounder with cheese.
With cheese. And a side order of fries. Oh, well, for those who don't know, that's the Picard at McDonald's sketch, which is amazing. But you go in there and you know what you want. And you walk in and they're like, well, why don't you try this thing instead? And you keep saying, no, I want this. I want the fillet of fish. And they're like, no, what you want is the chicken sandwich. And like, no, I want the fillet of fish. Just make it. I'm paying you money. Make the fillet of fish, put it in my hands, and I will eat it. And
put it in my mouth.
Yeah, all parties are going to be happy. But they're like, no, we've decided now that the fillet of fish is unacceptable or whatever, or something like that. No, you want the chicken sandwich. This is what you're going to get. And like, who would hear that and decide to pay for a chicken sandwich instead of the fillet of fish you came in wanting?
Yeah.
Nobody.
I mean, that is the McDonald's experience. They just don't argue with you about it. They just make whatever they want and put it in the bag.
I've shared the experience, my migraine experience, right? At McDonald's
migraine?
No. So, this isn't like probably the 90s, I want to say. I was on a job site and I had this migraine coming on and I'm like, I should probably eat something. And it was in Gig Harbor and I go to McDonald's because it's fast, right? It's supposed to be. And there's all these people. I'm standing in line. I finally get in there, place my order. And I was like, basically, I just wanted a cheeseburger with bacon bacon on it. Cheeseburger, couple slices of bacon or whatever. And so, of course, McDonald's, if it's a special order, you're just standing there for half an hour waiting. So I'm standing there and my head's just throbbing. It's getting worse. And finally, they're like, oh, here's your order. And I grab it. And this is eating in. So everything's on the little platter they used to have back in the day. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm so hungry. my head's hurting. This is going to be great. And I unwrap the burger. In my mind, I'm expecting a cheeseburger with bacon on it. But instead, there was, yes, it was a cheeseburger, but somehow in the afternoon, it had an egg patty on it. An egg patty. I'm like, you can't even order that. Where did that even come from? Like what? Like that's like breakfast stuff. So they, so again, I have to stand and wait in line, and it's getting worse and worse. And so I wanted, it was plain, so no onion, no diced onions, of course. And I go back up and I show them, and I'm like, this is not what I ordered. I don't know what this is. I don't know where this egg thing came from. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And we'll remake it. And they remade it. And what I got was just a regular cheeseburger with diced onions on it. And so I went back up again. So finally they got it right, but it took 3 tries to get it right. Oh, yeah. But I'm like, where the hell did this fucking like egg patty come from? Like if I this is the stupid thing. If I actually ordered that, if I said, hey, I want a cheeseburger with one of those breakfast egg patty things on it, they'd be like, well, we can't do that for you, sir. Yeah. But somehow they did
it. That belongs in like a comedy sketch. Where, like the first thing you do is be like, yeah, I'd like the egg McMuffin. Oh, I'm sorry, we aren't serving egg. It's not possible to get that. And then, okay, well, I'll go with the cheeseburger with bacon. And then you get a cheeseburger with egg on it. It's like, wait a minute.
I know it should be. Yeah, McDonald's is crazy. But that's something that I guess I think it's time that people stand up for their independence and autonomy over our stuff. The right to repair movement is gaining traction. It's especially gaining traction in the US military now. Like it's getting noticed because like there's a guy in the US Marines actually. So they have this like comm device. It's got a couple of antennas on it, and the antennas have fiberglass and they're very fragile and they end up breaking, which is like, well, this is like a military communication thing. You don't want something that's like fragile, right?
Yeah.
Like they're out in the fucking desert, like climbing mountains and stuff and whatever. But these antennas kept breaking, and they cost like $5,000 to replace. And it takes like 200 days to get a replacement. So they end up just kind of decommissioning stuff and throwing them in a bin and just eating the cost of pulling out new devices. Well, one enterprising young Marine who was kind of, I guess, an engineer of sorts and a 3D printing enthusiast, he was like, well, I could 3D print this. I could just make another replace. Like we can make them ourselves. So he designed a model to replace this antenna. It cost $10 a piece instead of $5,000, and they replaced them. Well, then they get sued by the company. Oh, God. And so now, yeah, shit's getting real at this point.
Yeah, I knew that's where it was coming. Like you step on anyone's IP and oh boy, like which is just ridiculous. I mean, we've gone on and on full episodes on patents and stuff, but
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it should have been, this mantle should have been taken up a long time ago. Right to repair, control, autonomy of your own stuff. The thing, like you buy a thing, it's yours, and you can do with it what you want. But yeah, everybody's like got an angle, right? And they're like, well, no, you can't. You can't modify that thing. You can't fix that thing. It has to be approved stuff. Well,
I would call bullshit on that if like I would side with the company if they were trying to sell it to other people, but they're using it for themselves.
Yes,
like
exactly. That is the point. It's like you bought this thing, and maybe there was a flaw. There is a flaw with this particular comm system, in that the antennas break, right? And it takes look. You're out in the field in combat and shit, right? Like, what are you going to do? Wait 200 days to get another one? I mean, the cost is immaterial when it comes to lives and the mission. So being able to just kind of make one in the field with a $200 3D printer, why can't they do that? Like, hey, assholes, you built something that broke in the field. It wasn't able to even do the thing that's supposed to do. So we have a right to fix it. Like, everybody should have a right to fix the things that they paid for. But yeah, you're right. If they were making copycat antennas and selling them, well, okay, if it's an aftermarket and they're like, hey, this is a different version, it isn't OEM, I think that's legit. But if they're selling it as an OEM and selling it for like $5,000, okay, well, now you got a case. You got a case there. But if they're like, hey, this is maybe not as good as the original, but it's like a replica, right? I think that's okay. But one thing you don't do, and this is why I'm like, I would not want to be a lawyer on that case, because the last thing I would ever want to do is piss off a Marine or all the Marines. Like, I'd be like, holy shit, I need a bunker. Wear body armor all the time. Like, dude, no. But I think this will end up cascading into right to repair being codified into law, at least in the US. Hopefully. But that goes into,
I mean, eats away at profits, though. I wouldn't hold my breath for that to happen.
Well, yeah, I know. But I mean, it's all tied into kind of what we're talking about, is like, do you own and control the thing that you paid for, the product that you bought? Is it yours or is it someone else's? And if it's someone else's, why would you pay for it? Are you just renting? Maybe, I guess. That is okay. We need to talk about that very briefly. Software developers are now going away from the purchase the software model and going to the it's on the internet and you connect to it model. Like subscriptions, yeah. Like Microsoft Office, you don't download Office, it's like browser based. It's all online, which then, back in the day, if you had, let's say you download a version or whatever, you had the installer or you have the CD or something. So it's like, if something changes in the future, you could just take that CD and stick it in and install the previous version. And Word now operates the way Word used to, rather than the way that it does now. But now it's like, okay, well, you don't even have a CD. You don't even have software. It's running on someone else's computer and you're looking through a window into that thing. So they can change whatever they want to, and you just have to accept it. And that this goes back to my point of like, we don't have to accept it. We shouldn't accept it. We should actually not accept it on the behalf of other people. Like, even if it works for you, we all need to recognize that the trajectory of all this that is leading to the destination of you will own nothing and you will be happy.
Right. And if you write your book in Microsoft Word, does Microsoft have a legal right to your book?
They might think that they do, actually, and they might have a case there, especially if it wasn't written on your own computer.
Yeah. Or you used an MS font.
Well, here, think about this. Okay. Let's say there was a dispute, a legal dispute, where Microsoft is like, yeah, no, that book, we own that book. And you're like, no, because I wrote it. And they're like, well, prove it. And you're like, well, okay, let me log into my account and produce a copy, the original copy of that. And they're like, well, that copy actually resides on our server, not on your computer. So it's actually ours. Yeah. We made that, not you.
And you need 2FA to log in. You can't do
2FA.
that from the courtroom. So
Yeah. I know, exactly. Well, see, that's the problem is like you can't, because like all the songs that I've written, I have all the original files on multiple devices. So if there ever was a dispute, like some Spanish band that's like, oh, contesting the song that I wrote, I could be like, hey, look, I have the actual files on, I have actual burned CDs from the 2000s that have this thing on it, time stamped, like, all this is there. But if it's on someone else's server, you can't do that.
yeah.
They could also just lock you out of access too, or change stuff because it's not, it's their computer, not yours.
Wow.
So you could see
Yeah.
problems that can happen there. And I don't want to, that's a world I don't want to live in.
Well, and I can't believe I forgot to bring this up, but the other end of 2FA is that we have no recourse for confirming the identity of who we're conversing with, like when we call the bank or whatever, like, they're, I'm 8 hours on the phone with the bank. And at one point I'm like, how about you prove to me who you are?
That's a good point. Yeah.
I
That's a
keep
really
giving all
good.
this like vital information to people over and over and over again. It's like a fucking Mickey Mouse operation.
Well, and
And
and they sell all this security stuff on the basis of protecting us from scammers and criminals and stuff. And it's like, well, how do I know that you're not one of those?
yeah,
How, prove to me that you are who you say you are. It's like the Spider-Man, the
yeah,
meme with the Spider-Man pointing at each other.
yeah.
Like,
That's
how do
the
you know?
kind of security I would be fine with, like if
Yeah.
it's a two-way road.
Mm-hmm. Well, like a handshake of some sort that where, okay, everybody knows, okay, well, yeah, you are who you say you are. The other party is who they say they are. We're good now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it is kind of
And they act like it's impossible, like oh,
Mhm.
you called us or whatever, but
they they
they're
act like it's an affront, like they're offended that you would even ask if you ask.
yeah,
It's
it's
like, well,
totally
wait a minute.
possible for shit like that to get bounced or
Mhm.
intercepted or whatever,
But scammers do that
Mhm.
all the time. I mean, and they're getting very, very good at what they do.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, exactly. How do I know that this is who I'm, the party that I'm supposed to be speaking with about
Mhm.
this? Like, there should be some verification. It should go both ways. Um, but it feels very kind of authoritarian in a sense where, like, well, we're the we're the ones. We're it's we tell you what to do. We say
Yeah.
how things are conducted. No, no, you don't. Like, I'm the customer, bitch. Well, and it's the same thing with contracts. People are always like, "Oh, well, I guess I was forced to sign this contract and accept the terms." No, you know what? A contract is a two-way sort of thing. Someone presents you with a contract, you could make changes to it because, like,
Used to
both
be.
parties. Well, yeah,
You can't
both
you can't
parties.
do that on like just try. I have tried very hard. I've tried going in and like opening the code on the
Mhm.
browser and altering it there, but it doesn't work. It doesn't change
I
anything. You
Yeah,
can't
I know.
actually change a contract anymore. It's
Well, and when
all
it's
virtual
online,
now.
it's a
And
different story. But if it's
that's
on paper and you're sitting in an office somewhere and somebody hands you a paper contract and says, sign here, you could be like, yeah, no, I'm going to scratch that out. I'm going to add this thing. Now you sign if you agree to that, and I'll sign. And then we agree.
mhm.
That's how it ought to work, actually.
It ought to work that way, but
Yeah.
even if you have paper and you do that, they just won't take your
Well,
business.
it's people have kowtowed for so long and just like bent over and accepted the authority of the system for so long that when you challenge that, they're like, what? This is unprecedented. They don't even know what to do. It's
Yeah.
like, well, this is just normal shit, right? Like, I mean, we're negotiating, aren't we? Like that's how it is. But man, software though, all this security, all the security that exists, like it's here's okay. Here's a good kind of like going out thought, I guess, since we're about 2 hours in, so probably a good time to wrap things up. But you know, modern debit cards, they have the little chip that they add in there, which never fucking works if it's in a wallet or in your pocket or something. It always gets all. I always have to take it and like polish the terminals
Mm-hmm.
on that, and then it's like doesn't work. Um, so obviously we had for a long time. There's the mag stripe that you'd swipe and da da da, and that was the way it operated for like 30 years or whatever. I mean, before that, they had the knuckle buster. You'd roll the thing over the raised letters. Um,
Yeah.
and but that wasn't good enough. Security, I guess, or whatever. So they added this chip. Um, and it's kind of like, oh, we're adding this for additional security. Well, the day after that chip was introduced, hackers already compromised it. Like the day after, it was already fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like useless, pointless. Like it. Oh, okay. Well, we already figured out how to compromise that. I mean, of course, there's all the little things they can insert into terminals at point of sale, that skimmers essentially. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's all compromised. Like, what's the point? What's the point in all this security? It's kind of like having a fence, right? You put a fence around your house because you think it's secure. Like I'm gonna beef up security and like keep all the bad guys out or keep my pets in and keep them safe. But you like there's just a fucking hole on one side of the property. There's like a spot where there's no fence. Okay, well, what's the point of the fence then?
Yeah.
If anybody can just walk in, what's the point of even having a fence? You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Indeed.
why lock all the doors and windows in your house if you leave one door unlocked? Okay, well, then the security is meaningless.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's 2FA in a nutshell.
Pretty much, yeah. Most security, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I work in a lot of that in that field, and yeah, it's bullshit. And we shouldn't accept bullshit.
Nope.
Like and this is where it's like, hey, you know what? Microsoft and Apple keep like making things stupider and worse and more useless and less functional. Okay, well then fuck it. We'll go open source, go Linux. Even if it's an inconvenience, it's worth the effort to step away from that system. I mean, that's the whole thing with moving to Nevada into the high desert. That's my plan. Like, is it going to be like a dream? Probably not. I mean, it's obviously going to be a lot of work and effort, and maybe not won't be as comfortable. But you know what? It'll be mine, and I will be free as I can be from a lot of the bullshittery that I have to deal with on the daily. And I think it's worth the effort, and more people should do that. Um, but bread and circus, right?
Yeah.
It's like people feel completely content with what they have, even if it's frustrating. Um, and they're like, well, I don't, it's too much of a risk, or it's too much work. I don't want to do that. I'll just suffer in silence.
Hmm.
And that is why we have things the way we have them.
Yeah.
So hopefully this inspires some people to do something. You don't have to change the world. You don't have to completely upend your entire lifestyle. Just do some small things, make a few changes, decide not to, detach, don't participate here and there. That's all it takes. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yep. Okay, well, hopefully everybody enjoyed that. Old Rat, thank you so much for the comments. Glad you were here. Always a pleasure. Um,
Yeah, keep an eye out for the YouTube short on how to dual boot Linux.
yeah. Yep. All right.
Short Eric tutorial.
Mm-hmm. Well, my bladder's telling me it's time to conclude and wrap things up.
Yeah. All right. Well, see everybody next week for another Deep Sync Live.
Mm-hmm.